On today's episode, we'll talk about why lower with more foreground is always better, the joys of B camera, Shaun of the Dead, Robin Hood, and of course, running around with Harry Potter under the cloak of invisibility. Just a little bit of business before we start. There may be a curse word here or there in this episode, so please listen responsibly. As always, our website, theop.io, is up and chock full of tips, tricks, and gooey operator goodness. Make sure to check out The Breakdown, where the best operators in the biz explain shots they have done, The Musings, where we discuss everything from quick tips to larger concepts of storytelling, the answers, the images, and so much more. This episode is brought to you by the Folex Max. So you want to practice your handheld, Steadicam, or even on the wheels, but you don't have a full-size camera to use? Well, fear not, the Folex Max is here. It allows you to attach your DSLR or other lightweight camera and distribute that weight in a multitude of ways. Now you can practice with a camera cage that feels the same as just about any size professional camera out there. For more information, check out folexmax.com. And as an added bonus to listeners, mention this podcast and you'll receive $100 off on your order. That's FAUXLEXMAX.com. Finally, if you enjoy this podcast, please follow us, write a review, share us with your parents, and talk us up around the water cooler with your friends. So grab a beverage, sit back, and enjoy the op. Thanks for listening.
Lock it up, nice and quiet, and let's roll.
Victor 30 Echo, take 2.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark.
And camera set. And action.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Op Podcast, the podcast where we talk about operating and the art of visual storytelling. I am Dave Comides, your host, and I'm coming to you over the internet today because my guest, Paul Edwards, is in London. And are you in London? Did I ask you that?
Not actually in London. I'm in a different country. I'm in Wales. So next door
he's in
country.
Wales.
Yeah, Cardiff. Yeah.
See, we Americans don't understand any of that, but he's still across the pond. Very excited to talk to him because he's had an amazing career. Some, but not by any means all of his credits, because there are a lot of them. Phantom of the Opera, Harry Potter, all but one of them, Shaun of the Dead, Love Actually, 47 Ronin, the, I think, latest Robin Hood, and many, many more. He's a really accomplished operator, and I'm excited to talk to him. I don't think we've ever met, so this should be interesting. And thanks for being here, Paul.
Hey, Dave. Pleasure.
So wait, before we go on, so Wales is a separate country?
Wales is a separate country. It's physically joined. It's off to the west of England. It's the bit that kind of sticks out. So, yeah, I live in the capital city, Cardiff.
Okay.
Which is actually, for our industry, it's where the IMDb started, about 2 miles away from where I'm sitting now in the university.
Wait a minute. Can you go over and knock on the door and get all those changes done that I want done that never get done?
Yeah, they've moved on. I don't know where they are now. I know. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So wait, so does that mean that Wales is part of the UK but not a part of England? Is that how that works?
Yeah. Part of the UK, yeah.
All right, very good. Yeah. Well, see, I learned something today. I always learned something. So, so thanks for being here. So let's just, how'd you get into the business? What's your story?
Right. Well, when I was very young, I was always interested in films and TV. My dad had 8mm Bolexes and used to play around and shoot us, myself and my two brothers. So there was always kind of film around, and he used to go send the film off to get processed, and it would come back, and he would kind of be in the corner on the desk doing the editing and splicing things together. So that was always sort of in the background. And when I was young, I was into model making. I was crazy model maker. So I kind of combined the two things, and I borrowed one of my dad's little Bolexes, and I started to shoot stuff myself, just experimentally. I'd make models, and I kind of taught myself animation, how you animate. So this is, 3D things. So I'd make a little 3D model, and I'd start to read up about it and work out that you could kind of mask off half the frame, and then you could wind the film back, and you could expose it again and mask off the other side. And, it's that kind of basic of the magic of it, and the sort of those kind of special things you could do. So that's where I kind of started the interest. And I kind of educationally, I did, I was a science rather than the art side of things. So I was maths, physics, chemistry, kind of went along that road, a conveyor belt it felt I was on. I went to university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I did engineering because it was nice and wide, and I was always taking things apart, kind of, very technically physical with things. It came out the other end, got a job in engineering, and then after about a couple of years, I just kind of woke up and thought, this is not really what I want to do. So why am I still doing it after 2 years? And I can see my path ahead, and that's not what I want to do. So I literally wrote a letter. Remember those days of letters? I wrote a letter to the BBC, and just kind of, an open letter. How do you recruit? What's the and they sent a little pack back, a recruitment pack printed in an envelope, and I basically applied. I filled this in. And I got an interview I was working in Wales. This is why I'm in Wales. I got my first engineering job here. So I traveled across to London, had my first interview, got through that. And then there was a second lot of interviews back in Cardiff, because BBC have centres all over the UK. And one of them was in Cardiff. So they thought, hey, he's in Cardiff, so we'll interview him there. Yeah. And had a board interview, so like 5 guys in a row, and they were guys in those days, firing questions at you. And I got through that. So I joined the BBC, basically. It was a 3-year apprenticeship.
What? So it was an apprenticeship program. So it wasn't necessarily like for camera or for something else. It was just like... It
was for camera. Yeah. So that was fun, because they said, where do your interests lie? And I said, well, I kind of do, photography and things. And they said, what kind of pictures do you take? And in the interview, actually, a friend of mine had advised me, he said, just get some of your pictures, print them up, mount them on some nice card, just sort of A5, and just have them there with you. Smart. So I kind of whipped them out, and it was great. So that two of the 5 guys were suddenly taken away with looking at pictures. So it kind of took the pressure off a bit, and there's only 3 people firing questions at you. But yeah, so I went into the camera department, and that was in mostly studios. BBC was split in Cardiff between film and what they call operations. And operations was more the multi-camera video side of things, and single video camera. And it got sent away. The beginning of the BBC training was 12-week residential course in their training centre in Evesham in the middle of England.
Oh, wow.
So you got whizzed away, and they just film, video, everything was just banged at you. This is how we do it. This is how we do it. Which,
what an amazing opportunity.
I know.
It's like school phenomenal. In 12 weeks.
Yeah. And then you went back onto wherever you were posted for the rest of the 3 years. And then the hard bit was, after that, the last 4 weeks of the 3 years, you went back to the training center. And if you didn't pass those 4 weeks, you were out.
Wow.
No questions asked. You're not up to standard. Bye-bye. So
how many people were in this program with you?
It was like a classroom full of people. So maybe 30 in our classroom of it.
And how many made it through to the final?
Most of them did. There were only really outliers who didn't, and you could kind of spot that it was going wrong. Yeah. But as you say, incredibly fortunate. Obviously, it doesn't exist anymore. Real shame, but it's a great start, a great foundation.
So you said the TV stuff, I'm assuming you mean like the studio stuff was video, and then out in the field it was 16 or it was 35 or what?
It was 16 mostly. I think BBC in Wales did do kind of films on 35mm, but lots of it was 16. Obviously there was the news side of it, which was based there as well. They were shooting reversal just for speed for news. But I was in the studio, so I was multi-camera studio, or you would go out on location and you would be single camera, but that would be single camera video. So you'd be recording back to a video recorder.
So what would you actually be doing as the apprentice on these things? I mean,
you would start off just, say you're in the studios, you would have like 3 days to shoot a play. And there'd be maybe 4 or 5 cameras, multi-shooting. And you'd have a saturation lighting rig in the ceiling. And you'd have various sets over the 3 days. They were struck overnight and other sets were put in. And they did some amazing things. They built a sea in the studio using polythene and fans, and the lighting was just phenomenal technically. So we were assistants. So we would cable bash. We would just assist in whichever way. But slowly, you got things to do. So it was like as soon as you could take it, they'd give you responsibility. Oh, you can do this shot. You can do this. And they had mobile cranes, 3-man cranes. So you'd have a driver, you'd have a swinger on the arm, and the cameraman would be up top. So you got to drive the crane, or you got to swing the crane. So you learned about timing, you learned about positioning, and all the important stuff. And as I say, slowly you got to do more and more.
That's fantastic. I mean, and were most of the operators, were they giving with their information? I mean, or was it
very much? Yeah.
Time for that?
Yeah, there was always time. Yeah. To be honest, it wasn't really a high pressure environment. It was the old school BBC. Everything was given enough time to do it, and so yeah, great environment.
Oh, that's fantastic. And so you did that. You said that's a 3-year program.
That's a 3-year program. Yeah. So I did that for 3 years. Stayed another 2.5 years, and then one day, one of the senior camera operators, he found an advert in the back of one of the newspapers, and it was an advert from the Dutch national television, who were going through a huge rearrangement financially, and they'd rearranged the whole system, and a lot of people had left, and they had an advert for camera operators to work in the studios in Holland. And he said, you young guys shouldn't be sticking around here for 20 years waiting for people to move on. You should be doing these kind of things. So myself and another friend from BBC Wales, a couple of guys from independent television around the country, people from London, all applied for these jobs. So they flew us out. We had a camera test, we had a chat, and I got one of the posts, and I just went for it. My parents were horrified because, the BBC was a job for life, and you were throwing it all away, really. And but it was terribly exciting. And I learnt Dutch in 3 weeks. You had that was the first 3 weeks of the contract was learn Dutch.
Wow, and that's not an easy language.
That's not an easy language, no. Especially, I'm not really a linguist, so I really found it hard. Yeah.
Wow,
but a great experience,
But everybody over there speaks English, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So it's even more difficult to learn,
Yeah, that's the downside.
I know. But so I did that for a year on the contract, came back, went freelance, and then did a Steadicam course. Which was terrific.
What year was this that you did a Steadicam course?
Steadicam course, I think it was 91, 92, something like that.
You remember who taught it?
Yes, Andy Shuttleworth.
Shuttleworth. Oh,
you come across Andy? Yeah.
Great operator. Absolutely.
Yeah, very enthusiastic, very inspiring. It was a terrific time. I'd actually come across Steadicam a little bit of time before that, because when I was the last year, I think, in the BBC, Ted Churchill had come across to run a course in London. And I think he stuck around at the end of it and did a presentation. So he had about 80 people in the room. And obviously Ted, he's a great showman. And we were all just, our jaws were on the floor. I think everybody there had not seen a Steadicam before, up close and personal.
Well, and also everybody there had not seen Ted Churchill up close in person. So you've heard the thing where they say that Garrett invented the Steadicam and Ted invented the Steadicam operator. He was a character. So so you got the full royal treatment. That's amazing.
We fired questions at him. And
did BBC wise, did you ever see Steadicams? I mean, did they ever use them or?
It was right on the edge of being used, and we were the sort of young, keen ones, and we were aware of Steadicam. We were aware of Steadicam having arrived, and we'd seen it in films, and we were fascinated that way of storytelling, and we wanted the BBC to pay for us to go on a Steadicam course. Why not? They didn't see it that way. And there was a no. And in fact, two of our guys, Jill and Nick, they went on a Steadicam course. They paid for it themselves. And all of a sudden, the Steadicam turned up because the BBC went, hey, you can do Steadicam. You should get Steadicam in for you. They wouldn't pay for them to go on the course, but they're very happy to use their skills once they'd, Yeah, but I don't think I ever saw it on set. But it was sort of starting to come in very slowly.
Yeah.
But it was very much the new thing. It wasn't my intention to do a Steadicam course to do Steadicam, to be honest. I went on a Steadicam course. I mean, think about, my engineering background. So there was that side of it, and I was fascinated from that point of view, as well as the storytelling and what you can film and how you can film, how it changes things. So I saw the Steadicam course coming up at the National Film School just outside London, and I applied, and I got in, but it wasn't really my intention, for what I remember anyway, to think, okay, I'm going to do a course and hopefully I'll be good enough, and that's my route. I just went for an education because a lot of people were talking about it without any real knowledge. And I thought, that's not what I want to be. I want to have kind of exposed myself to it, so I know what it is, so I can talk with some kind of, sort of knowledge. And so that's why I went. But then when I got on the course, it kind of all changed. It was like a epiphany.
Wow.
Yeah.
So was this like a 1 week course or a 3 day course, or
it was 1 week? It was what the sort of classic course is now, the sort of 5-day gold course that Tiffin run. It's that kind of model.
And did you come out of that thinking this is my path?
Yeah.
You just got hooked. That's
it was. I mean, and Andy at the time, I think he just shot. Maybe that dates it. Much Ado About Nothing. He did the Steadicam on that.
There's that huge, the end shot, I think.
End shot, yeah.
Goes up in the crane or the whatever.
That's right, a cherry picker, Which had big
wild
kind of sections that kick in. He was talking about nearly being thrown off the crane when the second section kicks in. So seeing that was quite inspiring, because I didn't really have any exposure to film, filmmaking, certainly at that level. I'd only really been a TV guy. And I remember Andy on maybe the fourth of the 5 days, we'd done some sequences, shot some sequences, and in the evening we'd play them back. He'd record them all on 8mm videotape, and we'd play them back, and we'd all kind of crowd around the little monitor and look at them. And there was the next one they came up. Okay, we're going to play the next one, and he sort of got halfway through it, and then he paused and he said, "Who's this? Who did this?" And I think, I think that's mine. Okay. And then he played the rest of it and then stopped. He said, that's really good. And I thought, wow, I've done this for 4 days and I've got something he's seen something that's clicked. And I did feel myself that something had clicked, So I thought, after 4 days, I can get that kind of comment, maybe. And that's the point at which I thought I'd kind of been not thinking seriously about it, because I hadn't really heard, I needed to hear something like that from somebody like him. And it really, that was it. I thought, right, whatever it takes, I'm going to just have a go at this. And it's either going to work or it isn't.
That's great. I remember I think my feedback on mine was, look, you're keeping them in the frame, so that's good. But
that's always a plus.
I remember thinking, like, I'm keeping them in frame. I'm doing really well. So anyway, that's fantastic. So something clicked. That's what a wonderful. I mean, having had that myself, because I took. We used to call it the Calamigos Ranch workshop that Bob Crone taught mine. I remember going, like, I'm not good at this, but I so want to do this, and I so want to be good at this. And I actually remember that I think the next day or 2 days later, I flew back to Connecticut, where my family was, for a holiday or birthday, or I don't know what I was flying about. And I remember being in the airport and sort of like walking around pretending like I was moving a gimbal and sort of like trying to remember what it, just I couldn't get enough of it. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
I remember that. Yeah, when you walk around with a glass of fluid, beer,
I've done
tea,
that.
whatever.
Did that too, and
suddenly
people
you
like,
just
that guy's crazy.
feel,
I'm like, oh,
yeah,
sorry. Yeah.
That's
great. So, were there? I mean, this a big class? Like, were there a lot of people in it? Did they go on to other things? Or?
20 odd people,
Okay.
I think, something like that. 20, 22. It was just Andy running it. I don't think he had any assistants, so he was pretty full on. And it was a good range of people. You had sort of operators, even a couple of directors as well, because obviously they wanted to kind of learn about it. So it was those sort of early days. Yeah, it wasn't really a career move per se. there was a range of reasons why people were there. So
Yep. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you weren't really an operator quite yet, a conventional operator, were you?
Well, I kind of had operated in the studios, so it's this juxtaposition. I mean, I did, on the BBC course, you do a lot of film, which is great, and it was video basically, so multi-camera and single camera video. So you were operating cameras, you were framing. So I did have the operator skills from 1,000 hours of pointing, shooting, tracking,
so you had a significant
booming,
amount already.
Which I think really helped.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because it gives you a shortcut. You can just worry about this weird thing you're strapping onto you that's trying to make you bend in half.
Well, that's why I asked, is because it's hard enough to learn how to do Steadicam, but if you don't have operating skills and framing skills, it's like, well, you're doubling down.
Doubly hard.
Yeah. So did you come out of that thinking I've got to buy a rig or
I had to work out some way, and the kind of tricksy way I worked it out. Well, to start with, I got American Cinematographer religiously in those days, the print version, and in the back. There was White House audio video, and it was oh wow,
because it was the only place you could buy anything other than from Cinema Products made it and sold it. And the secondhand market was Derek Whitehouse. That was it, unless you happened to stumble into someone.
Right. Derek.
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
And he's English. He was from Yorkshire.
That's right. I met him once or twice, and I just remember it was like that black and white thing, and it was just lists of like BL1s and BL3s, and every once in a while there's a Steadicam in there. So you found one through him.
I found one through him. I found an EFP, secondhand EFP.
Okay, the original video.
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
Sort of the one. Yep.
Which came with a screen that you couldn't see. It was a LCD screen, TFT LCD. Which means you can't see it. Yeah, you might as well switch it off and save power. So my plan was to buy that from him, and but I needed a screen. I'd signed up for the AOL forum because it was the only way to stay in touch with what was going on Steadicam wise, to be on AOL. So you could kind of listen in and hear all these names talking, people that you see on the screen in the big credits. So this was terrific. But obviously the screen, you can't see it. So you need some kind of screen. So Optex in London were the Steadicam dealers in the UK. They had the connection with Cinema Products. And so I went to them wanting to just buy a monitor, because the plan was I was going to buy the rig from Derek. So I went and met Robin Thwaites, who I still to this day know very well, who's now at Tiffin. And I said, I just need a monitor for this rig, the EFP rig. And he said, oh, okay, well, maybe it's best if you bring the sled in and, we'll just fit it and make sure it's okay. And I said, well, I haven't actually got the sled yet. I'm going to buy it from, and there was like this pause, and it's like, maybe we could do a deal. So in the end, I bought it all off Robin at Optex.
Oh, okay, great. Oh,
yeah. So I got a new one. I borrowed some money, and and started like that.
So you got a new EFP, or you got a new 3?
I got a new EFP because EFP was fine for video in 16mm, and my thought was, two thoughts was, one was, if this all goes horribly wrong, this was kind of imposter syndrome starting.
Sure.
If it all goes horribly wrong, I can still sell it because, as you say, Derek sold secondhand, but not a lot of people did. So if I wanted to sell one, somebody would buy it. So that was one reason. And the other reason was I was only getting into 16mm video. I wasn't going to get a look at 35mm until I was more experienced. So it's going to fit what I can do in the medium term. So that's great.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be more reliable than the 3A, in terms of hair dryers drying out the boards, and all the stories that you
for anyone who doesn't know, the 3A was like the big rig that you could fly 35mm cameras for features on, and the EFP was really the exact same thing. It just was lighter weight, and so could not carry as much weight, but the they all had problems with them. I mean, and that said, I started out on a Model 1, and
Oh, wow.
and the EFB and the 3A were like years above, because the difference being that my rig originally, the monitor would sometimes turn on, and
that's
the
nice.
3A, the monitor would usually turn on. So it was like, well, this is better, right?
Yeah, that's progress.
Yeah, that's great. So you got the EFP, and then so this is 90, what, 92? 90?
No, we're talking 93 by now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, it's weird thinking back then, but so how did you get the word out that you're a Steadicam operator? Like, because it wasn't the internet back then. I mean, what did you do?
No. I think the only thing I could do, which was, well, to start with, I wasn't, in the UK, London is the center of all production, really. I mean, it is spreading out, and it always was a little bit spread, but the main concentration is in London. I was living in Cardiff, and there was work out here. So I was in a position where I had to get up to a certain standard, and then I could be used. It wasn't quite the same standard that I'd need to be if I just went to London and said, I'm a Steadicam operator.
Yeah.
So I kind of had that as an advantage. I think it was just people that I was working with already. So I kind of kept quiet about it and just practiced like hell to start with. I didn't put myself out there. I just wanted, I just wanted to get better and better and better. And then I got odd days here and there. And then I started to say, well, actually, I've got a Steadicam we could do this on. And they went, oh, yeah, that's great. And it just slowly started to take off. It took time, but I'm quite cautious. So, I was quite happy that it didn't kind of take off straight away. It was a slow burner, really. And then I slowly got into, I upgraded my rig after maybe 3-4 years. And then I just kind of started to get calls from other places that people had heard. And I remember a film coming down to shoot location down in just on the border between England and Wales in the summer. And they'd obviously looked up in the local union booklet, and just gone down, oh, the Steadicam guy here, who's Paul Edwards? So I got tried out, and it kind of worked. I was on my best behavior. I did okay. So the film has been shot in Shepperton in London. And the second unit was still shooting on location. So I was at that weird position where in the evening I'd be given a call sheet, because in those days they printed out the call sheet and gave it to you. Yeah. And if it was second unit call sheet, I stayed on the hillside and I got back to my own bed. If it was main unit, I had to quickly get back to my own bed and wake up at 3 a.m. and drive to London to do a shot on the main unit. But I was as happy as Larry, because, it was just a great step, and all these people that were just at the top of their game and knew what they were doing. And it was such an exposure. I just got to not mess up, stay awake, keep awake and keep alive to what's going on.
What movie was that?
I knew you'd ask. It is. It was a remake of a French film. It had Jean Reno in it.
Oh, wow.
Just Visiting, it was called. Just Visiting. Okay. It's a comedy, it was French comedy. But it was great fun. My rig got hit by Jean Reno's sword. I got a bit too close for the fight. We shot the fight both ways over each shoulder of the two people fighting with their swords, and I didn't give him enough room, and he swung his sword back, clang. So my monitor had a little chip out of it.
That's a battle scar.
Okay.
Wait, was this a remake of The Visitors?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Well, the French Visitors. Yeah.
The Visitors is such a fantastic movie. Why would you remake that?
Of
course. That's amazing. So suddenly you're sort of in the big time. I mean, you're on a big movie. Do you remember? I mean, did you have imposter syndrome of what am I doing here? I can't do this. I'm going to get fired. I mean, or did you feel like
not at that point? I think not that I was sort of overly confident, but I think I was concentrating so much on listening of what was going on, because I was learning a lot of things. I was learning the way things are done, the speed at which they're done, and these kind of strange dances that you have to do, which I've done ever since, is when the DP and the director start to walk off and talk about something, everybody goes with them, because that's how you find out what's going on. And they expect it. They're not going off to have a little chat. They want everybody else to hear it at the same time. Those kind of things, I remember being very alert as to, I thought there's lots of things going on here. I really have to keep my eyes open and ears open. And because this is a massive learning experience, I didn't really have time to have imposter syndrome.
Were you just doing Steadicam, or were you on another camera as well?
I think, I think it was all Steadicam. Yeah, maybe an odd shot. Just look after this.
But mostly Steadicam.
Yeah,
I don't know if you experienced this, but I remember very plainly experiencing this on smaller budget things, because that's what I started out on anyway. I would come in and I would be the expert that nobody else understood Steadicam. So they would go, well, how do we do this? And I would say, da, da, da. But inside I was thinking I don't know, I'm the expert and I don't know what I'm doing, but they think I know what I'm doing. So as long as I'm confident and I sort of say things as statements, it'll sort of work. And then I found out that if I went down a path and it didn't work, it wasn't the worst thing in the world, because they didn't know better than I did. And I was sort of I guess I just got to keep this game going till I figure out, what's going on. But it was a weird place to be, right? Yeah.
You've got to have the confidence and convince yourself as you're speaking and convince everybody else. Yeah. But you're right. You were the expert because you knew you were having the better guess than they would have guessed. So
in comparison to them, you're the expert, but within your own self, you're I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm figuring out. So it's a really strange place to be. Having confidence in yourself, knowing that you don't have confidence in yourself, but knowing that you have more than they have in themselves. So So that was a good experience. And then it sounded, were you on most of the movie then, or did they start using more?
There were well, I was sort of the Steadicam guy, so I would do a lot of the Steadicam. So it was still Daly's world, really. It wasn't a huge bunch of work, but I was doing other things at the same time, bits and pieces here and there. And I started to get into, because people know people, and somebody's going to do a pop video, and are you available over the weekend to work terrible hours? I go, yeah, sure, I love that. So that was the sort of the short film, and because that was Just Visiting was it was a big break, but it didn't kind of automatically lead on to other things, but it started to spark off a lot more. And I was still doing, most of my stuff was work back in Wales and pop promos in London. Then that kind of leads to short films, because the guys who are doing the pop promos are going to do a short film and, save up all the short ends and shoot things. And all that was going on, which was, it was terrific. It was chaos, but it was terrific experience and good fun. It was just so much fun.
That's I kind of went a similar route. I think we all did. Is you meet someone and they go, "Hey, next week I'm shooting this. Would you be willing to help out?" And there was no pressure, and you were just trying to learn and do better. And do you remember how long after you got your rig anyway? How long did it take till you walked onto a set and thought, I'm not worried that I can't do this?
I don't think I'm still not there.
Okay, we're in the same boat.
It's a huge grayscale. Because people say, do you still get nervous? And I don't really get nervous, but you have that kind of, because nervous sounds quite negative, and I don't worry. It's not nervous that I worry about, but apprehension is okay, let's see what the day brings, because you never know when something is, despite what they might tell you beforehand. We need you in for Steadicam. We're just going to do this and this. It's going to change, something's going to change, and it could suddenly make it how the heck are we actually going to achieve this now? So there's always that. So I think it's good to keep that kind of thing in the back of your mind, because it's, and also I love problem solving. Again, that's my engineering background. Engineering is all about solving problems efficiently, and the film industry as well, efficiently, quickly. There's money flowing through the gate at a speed. You just need to sort this out now. How are you going to do it? And that's
it's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because that's really all our job is. Yes, there's panning and tilting and framing and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's all problem solving, right? It's
Yeah,
just how
yeah,
there are all these hurdles in the way, and we have to achieve this. How do we achieve this? And you just
yeah,
backwards engineer and break it down.
yeah. And it's so satisfying when you do kind of win over
Yep.
something. You think, wow, we
Yeah.
got away with it. You know, you look across and you see the focus puller and they give you a thumbs up, or you give them a thumbs up and you think, wow, I think we got that. That was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And things just click and come together, and the whole team is on the same, everybody's trying to do the same thing. It's such a
Yep.
special industry for that. Yeah.
It really is. I mean, that's actually one of the things that I enjoy the most about, at least when you're with a crew that is all on the same page. Sometimes you're with a crew that's not on the same page, and that's a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Do you remember early on play times that you went in and you were just handed a shot that you couldn't pull off because you weren't ready for it, or you weren't there technically, or
Yeah,
was
when I
it
was
always?
still sort of learning. No, I think I got lucky in that way, because I don't know
Yeah.
how that didn't happen, really, because it is so random. And I remember there was a friend who was a Steadicam op, started a couple of years after me, and we used to sort of phone each other and had chats about things we'd done, and we were sort of learning from each other, really. And we both had that same approach that, wow, I got away with it again. And that was the idea, that really meaning you got away with it because there could have been something that you think, I'm not quite sure I can do this, or I'm not quite sure how I'm going to achieve that. And you can't get that without experience. So you just have to kind of survive until you have got the experience.
Yeah. That's well. It reminds me of I did a movie years ago with Liam Neeson, and we were just talking one day, and he told me that he's very good friends with Anthony Hopkins. I remember he told me that, and he goes, "You know who Anthony Hopkins is?" And I'm like, "Yes, I know who Anthony Hopkins is." This is like 8 years ago or whatever. But anyway, I remember he said that the last time he saw Anthony, I don't know why we brought that. He brought it up, but he said the last time he saw him, he gave him a big hug, and he said, "How you doing?" Anthony said, or Sir Anthony said, "Wonderful. They haven't figured out that I don't know what I'm doing yet."
Really? That's great.
I'm thinking if he's got that mentality, then I feel that I'm okay, that I'm walking on set. Because you get the calls and you're like, why are they calling me? Did they get that far down in the list? But I think we all have that, and it's healthy, right? I mean, it means you there's still to learn. There's still places to go.
Yeah. I've just finished a film with Anthony Hopkins, and I've never worked.
You did? Oh,
yeah, just recently. I finished a few weeks ago, and it was it's fairly sort of low budget. They managed to get the money together to do it. Lovely film, and it's the first time I've worked with him, and it was such an amazing experience watching him do what he does. I never really understood how actors do what they do. And I remember you saying on one of your podcasts that you've got to appreciate what they do, and the position they do it from, their physical position they do it from, looking back towards the lens most of the time, at all us and the stuff, and we look at the money, we look at the beautiful sunset, or we look at the amazing set. So they don't even get that. They're in the
Chris
set.
Harhoff said that.
Oh, was that Chris? Yeah.
I'd never thought about it before, and it's like, oh my gosh, they don't even get the benefit of what we get, and they still have to pull all this off. It's incredible. Are you saying you were impressed just watching like him work through take after take and the subtleties of the changes that he was doing? Or because he's an amazing actor. I mean, what an incredible
it was just, I mean, I was B camera and Steadicam. We did quite a bit of Steadicam, but to sort of make it easier for Anthony, we shot two cameras when we were doing him. So DP had lit for two cameras. The DP was doing Andrew Dunn, incredible DP.
Oh,
lovely
I just met
guy.
Andrew Dunn. Wonderful
really?
Guy.
He's so funny. He's so funny as well.
I met him when I was in London, and
wow.
I didn't know him. And that's he's a great guy. Yeah.
He's terrific.
Fantastic.
And he was doing the A, I was doing the B. But there was a couple of scenes particularly, and you just run through it, and then you come to an end, cut, and we just both go away from the eyepiece and look across at each other, and just go, wow, how does he do that? It was really emotional, incredible stuff. Yeah.
That's but by the way,
Magical.
like I get a little bit of chills when you say that, because it's not often that you get those moments, but when you get those moments, I don't play golf, but from what I understand, it's like connecting with the golf ball. Like you connect and you go, this is why I play golf, even though I usually don't. It's just when you pull your eye away from the eyepiece and something has just something magic. You've been a part of something that's magical, right?
Yeah, it's very, I found it very emotional, really
That's
affecting.
great.
And being so physically close, it's not like you're looking through a little screen and you pull away and it's all still there in front of you.
Yeah. There was a thing, I don't know, a couple of years ago now, on a TV show called Snowfall, which is a really good underrated TV show, but with Damson Idris, and this woman sort of gave this monologue in the final season, kind of about the Black experience in the United States, and it was so unbelievable. But not only the monologue, but the way that she did it. And I'm how it is. You're 4 feet away, and you've got your eye in the eyepiece, and you're connected to each other, right? And she finished it, and I pulled my eye away from the eyepiece, and I looked at her, and she looked at me, and she just got over and came over and gave me a huge hug. Wow. And it was like this wild, and like we didn't even really say anything, but it was like I think that she sort of kind of somehow recognized that I was part of it, and I was so moved by what it was, and I must have the look that I gave must have meant something. I don't know what it was, but it was this incredible. You have these amazing experiences like that. You can't quantify. Was I mean, when you go in and you're working with someone like Anthony Hopkins, like, I mean, we're talking about nervous. Are you nervous at the beginning of that? Because you're like, this is Anthony Hopkins.
Not really nervous, but really looking forward to it. Just thinking this is going to be interesting. This is going to be amazing.
I know with me, it's always like, I want to do this justice. I don't want to be
exactly
this unbelievable thing and not do my best.
You feel you're just kind of moving up a gear to be ready and sharp.
It sounds like it was a good experience to work with him.
Incredible. Incredible.
What is he is he in his 80s now? I mean, he must be, right?
Late 80s.
I mean, is it easy to give him notes, and as far as working with him on the technicals?
Yes. I'd say it's easy. Yeah. He's very easy on set.
That's really great. What's the name of the movie?
It's called The Housekeeper. It's the story of Daphne du Maurier when she was writing Rebecca and having writing block. It's kind of a story there, and there's a set around a country house, and it's a great, phenomenal cast. I can't wait to see it. That's
fantastic. That's just great. So you mentioned you mentioned that you were doing B camera on here, and we were talking about it before, and you mentioned that you mostly do B camera, and that's by choice. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Well, I kind of, the Steadicam was a speciality when I started, and I was very happy with that. And that I was doing lots of dailies. I was going all over the country, sort of servicing, TV drama and films, and filled my working life doing that. And I was really, really happy. And then it kind of changed. And that was sort of the case. I think even in America, there was the Steadicam op. They'd work out which days or weeks you needed you, and you'd do that. So I was very comfortable with that. And then probably around about, 2005 to 8, it became more normal to be B camera and Steadicam. So I did kind of segue to do films all the way through as a B camera and Steadicam op. And that was fine as well. I was happy with that. But that's where I thought, I want to kind of stay here. I'm quite happy to work. I think it is the relationship with an A camera operator. I really like it. I really like I feel if A camera and Steadicam would get me too far away from Steadicam, B camera and Steadicam's fine. And it gives me this relationship with the A camera Steadicam, who kind of has to run the floor, and I don't have to do that. And I just thought, this is my happy place. So as long as I can do this, I will. And I just kind of carried on. So I kind of never sort of stuck as B camera operator. I'm just exactly where I want to be.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I think the timing of when I started as well, so I could get established early, helped that. But yeah, I just enjoy it so much. Yeah.
I totally get it because, like, I mean, I don't do a lot of B camera, and I wish I did more actually. Because sometimes, number one, you'll do a big Steadicam shot, and it's nice to then go, okay, now I can kind of step back, and I don't have to run everything and step right back into it. But the other thing is just there's that thing depending on the show where sometimes they're not really paying as much attention to you, and you can do much cooler things. You know, without the pressure, and sort of sneak something interesting in there and whatever.
Yeah.
Which, of course, A camera, you're usually doing the big master or whatever, and it's not always as interesting. That's fantastic.
I mean, the A camera has to get it, has to shoot it. You're shooting dialogue, whatever, which sometimes gives the B camera a chance to. I mean, maybe you'd be shooting a separate size on the same thing, or you can kind of be, you know, you can be very creative. You can sort of, you know, liaise with your focus point. Hey, what about just watch this? Watch what he's doing there.
Exactly.
There's a gap in there. As soon as he's cleared, we can do the track. We can just go straight in. That'd be really good for the edit. And you're trying to build it. And I love that. I love it. Yeah,
it's so great. Whereas on A camera, it's like, you know, they're coming. Why did you pull focus to the background? She's talking in the foreground. It's like, no. I don't see it in the foreground. And you know, you're missing these great opportunities because you got to get sort of the bulk of it. But that's fantastic. I want to ask you some specific things about a couple of shows. You said you did 47 Ronin with Keanu Reeves.
Which
was 3D. Which
3D.
I remember this. I didn't see it, but I have to assume it was a lot of action. And can you explain to people when you shoot Steadicam 3D what that means?
Well, have you ever shot 3D?
I have avoided it like the plague.
Well done.
I'm happy to say I think I've successfully, because it seems to have gone away. I will say the one thing that I did was 2016, I did Ghostbusters, and a month in, Paul Feig, the director, we were lining up a shot, and he goes, "Oh, this is going to look so good in 3D." And Bob Yeoman and I went, "What?" And he went, "Oh, they're doing some 3D thing after the fact. Don't even worry about it." Whereas, like, should we have been like preparing for this somehow? He goes, "No, they just put some sort of mask over it, and I don't think it worked." But I never did what you did, so I'm fine with that.
Well, in answer to your question, your Steadicam sled normally has a camera mounted on the camera platform on the top, pointing forwards. And with a 3D rig, you still have a camera on the top pointing forwards, but you also have another camera pointing up vertically into a half-silvered mirror. So you're carrying a lot of weight, and it's big and it's bulky and it takes a lot of power, and we had 5 BNC cables running off it.
Oh my gosh, you were connected by cables as well.
Yeah. So we had to have cable bashers when we did long, you know, physically tracking a long way.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And the cameras move because there are 2 cameras, and they have to have a certain distance between effectively where the 2 lenses are. So you have an interocular distance, which is like a 3D volume control almost. So the guys in the tents are pulling that to move the cameras. And as one camera moves to the left, the whole rig moves very slightly to the right to compensate, and you feel it. You kind of kick, you know, all these things.
It sounds like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare. But I'm kind of glad they did it. I wouldn't do it again. Yeah. It makes it very. It's just very onerous, really. From you're trying to do the storytelling, and it was so. I remember once we did Keanu's character had to fight in the bowels of the ship. He'd kind of been, almost like a slave in with everybody else, and he had to sort of fight this guy down in the bowels of the ship, and we were covering it on Steadicam, and they wanted a lot of movement. So you've got a lot of inertia just to get the camera moving and stopping it physically.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of pivot around quickly and whip. And I remember once I whipped with the post, so a fast pan, and the camera didn't move because it had so much inertia, and the post moved, but I just couldn't get the gimbal tight enough on the post. So I kind of did the move. And it was like, well, we were going to whip there. And I thought, yeah, I kind of did. And I was just trying to tighten it as much as I could without obviously snapping the
Breaking
post.
it,
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
it
gosh.
was ungainly. And the director, actually, John Matheson was the DOP. And we did loads of prep. I came across to LA as well because it was Vince Pace was doing all the 3D, and I went across to talk about what was needed, and brackets needed to be built for extra batteries because I ran 3 batteries minimum on the rig.
Oh boy.
So all this added to it. But when I got back, we were still prepping in the studio. I'd never done so much prep for a film, and John Matheson had been away on recce's and come back, and he sort of came into the studio towards me. In the background behind me was my sled on a stand, and he sort of came up and he was sort of looking at my eye line, and I saw him just glance off to the side to look behind me where my sled was hanging on the stand, and he was just about to kind of say hey and shake his hand. He just shake my hand. He just looked and went, "What the is that?" I said, "Yeah, that's his first time he'd seen it, and it was side on, so all you could see was like camera bodies." And he said, "But yeah, they said it was going to be how much does that weigh?" But anyway, I went away. I actually had to do a couple of days on something else, and I had left that rig there. I had 2 rigs at the time, and I came back in, and apparently in those 2 days, the director Carl had come down, and John made him pick it up off the stand to show him how heavy it was. Yeah.
Good.
And this was recounted to me by the rest of the camera team, and apparently Carl picked it up, bless him, and he thought it was still, because the stand was all the sandbags on it. He thought he stuck on the stand. And John said, no, it's heavy. No. Lift a bit more. But bless him, from that day on, they made a box so that they could just slide it under the Steadicam. When they said cut, I just had to go down 1 inch and the weight was off. And I could hear as soon as he said cut on a scene, he was back at the monitors. He would say, "Cut, box for Steadicam." That was every time. He never forgot, because directors, they try the rig on, they think it's heavy, and they forget about it in about half an hour. The whole film, you heard cut, box the Steadicam.
Wow. Do you remember how much? Did you ever weigh it?
I think it was about 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh! So just so people know, like a heavy rig is like what, 65, something like that, maybe these days. I can't even imagine. So with a rig that heavy, do you sort of shift your? I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Do you shift your expectations? Because I would think with a rig that heavy and that much inertia, I'm thinking if I can just keep all of this in the frame, like I'm not trying to be as fancy as I usually do in the nuances. I'm just trying to actually like frame the shot. I mean, it must change. It must change the way that you operate and your sort of set of priorities in a way.
Yeah, the inertia was quite a thing. I mean, in a way, it helps because weight. My sort of normal rig, I kind of like quite a bit of weight just to kind of, even though I'm quite skinny myself, but I like a bit of weight to give you inertia. And I can just spread the weight out to give pan inertia between battery and monitor. But that was a bit much. And you had to be careful. You had to be ready if you were going to do a quick pan and put a lot more force in than normally you would. And obviously you've got these 5, I mean, there were small cables, not full-size BNCs, but there were 5 of them. Data cable, that was one of them. But yeah, I think we did a 2-minute shot was the longest we did, which was a big, one of the characters, the father and the daughter, he was not happy with the daughter, and she was stomping off, and he was, and there was lots of dialogue, and we had to go, sort of convoluted path and end up at the bedroom, and there was a bit of dialogue there, so I had to stop for that, and then slowly pan across to see somebody looking, and I think that was really the toughest shot I did. So long shots were very arduous.
Well, the length of them, and then the other thing, like you said, with that much inertia, it's like once you've started moving it, keeping it moving is relatively easy. But it's like the starting to stopping and the stopping to starting is the tough stuff, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, after that, it becomes a ship, and you can just sort of keep on holding up. That's
you kind of get into a groove after a while, but it is something to learn. Yeah. I actually made up. They tried to maybe take it off, but the Steadicam logo. The word Steadicam as a logo. I went into Photoshop and I made one of those, and I put it on the the battery stack. So when we normally have our batteries at the back of the sled, and I had the extra batteries, I made up a little logo that said Heavy Cam in the same font and stuck it on.
I like it. Yeah.
Just to remind everybody.
Yeah, well earned anyway. So you did Shaun of the Dead.
A long time
which
ago.
Which is always
now.
interesting to me when someone's done a movie that I'm sure when it called was like, we don't have any money, we're making this teeny little movie, whatever. But then it becomes kind of a cultural icon in this amazing, this amazing movie. What was that like?
It is strange, as you say. It's probably the one that I've done that sort of did that. And again, it was sprinkling of Steadicam days. It was like, we need you for these that day.
Yeah.
And there was another, I can't do that day. Oh, okay, we'll get somebody else. And as you say, not a lot of money. So, okay, I'll do it for that much. But the first day of shooting was the day we did a couple of really long Steadicam shots. The whole day was Steadicam. And I just turned up. I think it was the first time I'd worked with David, the DP. I certainly hadn't worked with Edgar Wright before. I don't think I'd worked with Simon Pegg. So, everything's very new.
Shot that,
David
right?
Dunlap, that's right.
Dunlap?
Yeah.
Great DP.
Yeah, I got on really well with David. He was lovely.
Well, but it's funny you say that, because that's the classic low budget thing. Well, back when they would just pull us on for days, is like you'd go in, but every shot would be Steadicam because they were trying to like push everything together.
Yeah.
Or if they weren't, the frustrating thing for me always was, this shouldn't be a Steadicam shot, but they have me, so I'm doing it anyway because they wanted to get their money's worth or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was good. I mean, it was hard work. I keep an A5 diary, and I used to write in, and I look back the other day at that page, and it just says "Day from Hell," 25 mil Steadicam all day. Went into overtime to shoot the tracking because we had a quad bike at the end of the day. So not only did we shoot the 2-minute shot to the shops and back again, and then the second day when all the zombie, we did all that, and then we went into overtime to shoot a quick, get it on the quad bike, and we had to do a racing shot up the pavement, tracking with the car as it drives off.
Oh, jeez!
So it was quite a day. Yeah.
Was working with Edgar Wright? Could you tell that he was something special?
Yeah, I mean, in that he was very much all over it. He was very specific about what he wanted to see. So he had it in his head completely. Yeah. And he was I remember him being very intense. Not surprisingly, it's his first film. It's the first day. On the call sheet is just that shot. And then they're going to get the Bickers bike shot at the end. And, if the phone call to LA at the end of the day is, we didn't make the day one. Yeah. You can imagine the pressure. Yeah. But I found it really nice to work with. I really enjoyed it. And Simon Pegg as well was so easy. For him as well, it must have been quite a pressure, but you wouldn't know it. He was so easy. And he was, I remember he went in, when we go inside the shop, and there's a bloody handprint on the fridge as he opens the fridge. And then he walks to the counter, and there's a zombie in the background, and all these little things were put in. And he just decided he was going to kind of slip on some imaginary blood on the floor. So the next time we did it, he said, "Oh, just so you know," I was like, "Just come away from the fridge. I'm just going to kind of do a little slip. So I'll just kind of I'll keep going, but it just breaks my slide." And then when you see the final film, they put a little squeaky sound as he's supposed to slip on this blood.
Yep, I know.
Just little things like that would be added. And I thought, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I actually last time I was in London, I stayed in Crouch End, and as we're walking around the corner, my buddy B goes, "That's where they shot the Shaun of the Dead scene right there." Yeah. When you're working on something like that, did it seem like it would be something you would want to watch, or did it just seem like this is going to be some
I don't know,
zombie movie?
I didn't really know either way. I couldn't quite work it out because it was quite quirky. So I went in for that day on the first day, and I think the next week we did this scene where he jumps out of the car and with the cricket bat and mows through the zombies, and then gets to the apartment and then comes back out again. So I think, I just can't quite get a handle on this. And then we did a couple of other scenes that were more dialogue-y scenes. But it was always, you think, how's this going to work out? This is very interesting. Yeah. And obviously the mix of, the zombies, but it's kind of funny. So it's not horror, but it is. and a great cast. I mean, Bill Nighy was in it as well, and it was certainly interesting to do. I was looking forward to seeing it. And then
it seems like one of those movies, because I've worked on some of those before, and it's like you get out of it and you go, this is either going to be horrible or it's going to be amazing, and I'm not quite sure which one, because it has all the pieces. I just don't know if it's going to come together. That's but that's cool to be part of something that's part of the cultural icon of that. So you've worked on all of the Harry Potter movies but one of them.
I missed out on the first one. Which was great. Again, it was just coming in for odd days or weeks. But most of them I kind of effectively shot a movie within, did enough time on set as if I'd shot a movie with them, because I was always in and out. And it was just an amazing experience. The scale of it was phenomenal.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because it must be bigger than, that's bigger than anything I've ever worked on, especially once you get, the first one was big, but once you get to the subsequent ones, so they almost get bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah. They the most impressive thing with the sets, really, the scale of what they built. I remember the Ministry of Magic set was huge. And we got a quad bike in there, and Rupert was running towards us, and we were tracking back with him, and there's all the extras and costumes, and obviously it was going to be extended with visual effects vertically, but what you have down on sort of ground level up to sort of 20 feet is all there. And and they can do, we need to do this, so how are we going to do it? It's not, well, we can't do it this way because of the money, we can't do it this way because of the money, so we're going to have to do it this way. It was the other way around. It was like, we need to achieve this, so how are we going to achieve it technically to do this or that? Or we went up to Scotland to shoot up there. Actually, they built part of the sort of that corridor that goes across to Hogwarts. I don't know why, but it was up on a mountain in Scotland, because you could see out both ways. But you would have thought you'd just do kind of blue screen. But I've got a still somewhere, just up there, up a mountain. I remember we just hiked up the mountain with everything to shoot, and they had a section of that set.
Why are we here?
Unless, maybe we were there anyway. I can't remember which sort of episode it was, but it was the one where they go through time and see themselves, and
So weirdly enough, you must have watched these kids grow up over the years.
It was really nice, actually. Spent time under the cloak of invisibility with Daniel. They'd throw this sort of see-through blue shimmering material over the top. And he would sort of hold onto the Steadicam with me and would track through. And
oh, that's great.
It was really sweet. It was lovely. Yeah, they were all so nice. And I had one fall, I think, when we did the tented village. I had to do a Steadicam shot running through there with Daniel and Rupert and Hermione, and I had to do it kind of again and again. I think we did it in front of all three of them, and then in front of the two of them, and then in front of the back person. And I caught myself on one of the guy ropes of the tents. I just kind of got enthusiastic, got into it, and just said, "Hey, let's go again." And I just caught it, and I ended up with the grip on the floor. Which was.
Did you ruin the rig or get hurt?
No, it was fine. It was fine. It was just one of those things. It was in the moment. You thought, is it sensible just to keep going like this? But by the time, let's reset. Let's go again. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, gravity comes and bites you. Yeah.
You were also telling me Phantom of the Opera. You came in for one shot and it ended up being much different.
Yeah, I got a call to come in, for one shot. It was going to be a very classically shot film, no Steadicam. Joel Schumacher was the director, and John Matheson, who it's the first time I'd worked with him. I knew obviously his reputation, just came in for a day. I think I knew at that point. I think I knew the focus puller Simon Hume was focusing on it. So maybe that was my in. Even maybe he got me in. I can't quite remember, to be honest. But they had this shot, which huge sets had been built at Pinewood. They'd built the auditorium of the theatre, and the stage, and then it goes all the way back to all the backstage multi-layers. I think it's 3 stories, and they had a Steadicam shot with the group who are tracking through. So Kieran Hines and Simon Callow were leading in song, and the Steadicam does a profile shot and then comes in front, keeps in front for a while, and people are crossing, and there's everybody getting ready for the performance, and there's material flying through frame, and eventually we end up on the front by the stage, and that was the Steadicam shot. And then that was it. That's the Steadicam shot. Great. Okay, moving on. So I could go home. I had other days penciled, but weirdly, the next day, first thing in the morning, the phone rings, and this is sort of like about 6:45 in the morning. The phone rings. I wasn't working, obviously, and my wife answers it, and then brings the phone to me saying it's somebody called John Matheson. And I went, oh, what's happened? Was my first thought. What?
This is either really good or really bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those. This is one of those binary moments. So I said, hi, John. Said, hey, it's yeah, yeah. We're just in, and they were in the. We used to see rushes every morning, so in the preview theatre, and they were running through the rushes, obviously from the previous day, and seeing the Steadicam shots. And John, bless him, he said, yeah, we're just running through, watching the Steadicam, and I was going, yeah.
Don't pause there.
and Joel was just, he was kind of saying how happy he was. So anyway, I put him on.
Oh,
I thought, wow. And then say, hey,
wow.
Paul, Joel, hi. We're just seeing the Steadicam, and it's great. It's really working well, and it's terrific. Really happy. So when do we see you again?
Wow.
I know, my wife was still there. She was kind of looking at me because she only heard one half of the conversation.
Yeah.
And I said, I think maybe, they got me penciled for next week. Oh, yeah, no, we'll see you next week then. And I sort of put the phone down. My wife said, what? And I said, I can't believe what's happened. And then, I kind of kept coming in, and he obviously liked the Steadicam. He liked what I was doing, and it got used more and more. And, there was like a dance sequence for various sequences, and we'd shot Music of the Night. That piece was all shot. We got 1,000-foot mags, split them, rammed them into a 400-foot magazine, so we had a bit more time, and shot both ways on the Steadicam. It's not done in one shot, but every we did the whole performance on one shot every time. So we got to do some really amazing things. It looked phenomenal. It was just candlelight everywhere. Hundreds of candles John had burning. And then there'd be one big light that was just bashed through a grill to bounce off the water to kind of give you all that. And then all these little sort of, it was great to see. Terrific.
What a great phone call to get, and how wonderful that they actually took the time to go, let's let him know,
That's John Matheson there. He's
I
amazing.
Can't imagine that. That's just fantastic. Because like sometimes you'll come in a week later and they'll go, oh hey, by the way, everything was really great last week, and that's nice enough. But to get
I know
we're taking the time.
My heart did stop just before, because it's the imposter syndrome. You think something has gone wrong.
They figured it out.
It's my fault. Eventually, you found something that you shouldn't have been doing, and but it was great.
Do you find that doing musical stuff, so much of what we do is lyrical, and to be able to do something that's, a story but a song, do you find, does it augment what you're doing? Do you end up reacting to it in a different way?
I think it's nice. It's almost like you've got a metronome to everything, and everybody else, everybody in front of your lens is doing the same thing. So it kind of starts to lock you together on another level, which is nice. Yeah. So even though if you're musical or not, you just have that, because everybody's musical sort of, you hear the music, and obviously it's there because it's been, it's been composed or it's been used for a specific reason. So it's another layer that just makes it all work. That's what I find. I found it makes it easier. Yeah.
I think there's something where it instructs what you're doing, and it just sort of makes sense in a weird way. Or on the alternative, I think when something doesn't work, it bumps so big because of the music that you immediately realize, oh no, that's not. I shouldn't be panning over at this point, or whatever it is.
Doesn't fit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like having
Yeah.
something in your ear.
Yeah.
Do you find that when you're doing Steadicam shots on features or storytelling, dramatic stuff, do you get into a thing where when you do 10, 12 takes, is every take the same, or are you constantly sort of finessing and finding moments and changing?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I find, I mean, and it's sort of a comment on actors really as well. I find that if you're working with actors who can kind of technically do things without even thinking about it, and their performance is built on top of that. So they seem to just naturally get to the edge of the desk and they're right on their mark, and they're absorbing the set around them and just feeling exactly where they should be and when they should turn and the speed at which they turn. When that's happening, I find it so much easier, because on the rehearsals, or not that we get rehearsals anymore, but on rehearsals when you get them,
on take two
or take two, as it's called, you're kind of doing the same. I feel there's a parallel. You're doing the same thing. You've done the bells and whistles. You're going to be there when they're there, and then you hear the noise and you whip across, or the mechanics of it. And once you've got that locked away, that's exactly what you said. You can start doing the finessing things and think it would be really nice if, and when you have that repeatability that the actor is giving you, then you've got time to do it. They're not suddenly going to, oh, wait a minute, they've gone. They didn't do that last time. When that happens, it's the opposite. You're always trying to, I've got to concentrate on the basics because I've got to kind of get it right. It's just so much nicer when you've done all the basics, and they're doing performance-wise, they're getting into places that are the nuances, the extra layer of scale, the little itty-bitty things, and you can follow that, and you can do these little things, and you can kind of catch your focus puller's eye, and they know what you're going to do because they can see it as well, and they know you're just going to kind of squeeze in there, or just do a slower pan because you feel the music, as it were. You just know they're going to bring in, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? All those little subtleties, and that's when it's kind of magical, when you get something really special to do, and when you say cut, you think, oh gosh, that was great. I really enjoyed that.
You just captured something. Yeah. And I mean, the thing for me always is when you have those moments, it's sort of, I always feel like, oh wow, I've now not only captured it, but I've elevated it on some level, just because there was that little push there or whatever. And it's not even so much me. It's just that the actor gave me what that was to make that work or whatever, and it's reacting to it. Right. So much of what we do is reaction, I think, in reality.
Which is why the Steadicam is such a good thing, because everything comes down to one point, to one person who's making all the, you are gripping the camera, gripping as in moving it from A to B in a certain way, and a certain speed. And you are making all those micro decisions, and however much you rehearse, the actor can do something different when you're doing take 4. They could just feel something and you just have to go with it. You have to understand what's going on and feel the same as they feel. And that's when you can milk out that extra little bit. You have to have that flexibility. It's not robotic. That's not where the magic lies. It lies in the sort of unexpected, in a way. Absolutely. No question. How long have you been doing Steadicam now? About 30. Around 30, I would say. 30 years.
Yeah, we're right about the same. Do you still enjoy it?
Yeah, I really. In fact, week before last, there was a sort of low budget film that was shooting close to where I am here, and it was up a mountain at the other side of a quarry, and the rain came in all day, and the gale force winds came in all day. I didn't actually shoot anything. They barely could shoot with tripods and dollies, so I didn't get to do anything. But I remember just when I got all my waterproofs on and got ready and thinking, well, maybe the weather will break, I'll get to do something. I just felt enthusiastic, even cold, wet, horrible. Just the anticipation of getting the rig on and just being part of something again was, and I thought, I've still got a little while in me yet. not time to hang up the sled. And I think you've got to have that. Otherwise, if you just become a bit jaded, then it's time to give up, really.
It's
Yeah.
tough. I mean, I'm on a very low budget thing right now, but I took
Mm.
it because the script is really good, and the director is just phenomenal. And it's like it was one of those things where you're like, I'm not going to make any money, but this is
Yeah.
why, this is the kind of thing that I got into. I mean, I'm hoping it's like Shaun of the Dead, because you
Yeah.
see it, you go, I see where this could be a movie where I actually want to see this movie and I want to help it be part of it. And
Yeah.
and there are definitely, because there's not much money, there are definitely there are tough days, and there are frustrating days, and there are days where we have to do really stupid things just because we don't have the ability, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I often will just catch myself thinking back, like, 30 years ago, I couldn't have even imagined being here. Like how lucky I am to be able to do this, and tell these
Yeah.
stories and work with people who are really excited about it, which in a weird way, what I've found is, compared to the big budget things that I've done, it's almost more exciting because
Yeah.
people are so excited about trying to figure it out. And like you said, problem solving.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the creative process of problem solving. And yeah, you can get that anywhere. It's just nice to be
Yeah,
involved in it in whichever way. And yeah, it doesn't matter what it is,
that's exactly
you've
right.
got to do those kind of things where there's no sort of real money. And if your heart is in it, then, you've got to do it.
Yeah. Have you you don't have to name any names. Have you worked on any shows with, let's say, with actors who may not want to collaborate as much as you would hope that they would?
Yeah, kind of. I think I've been lucky. I haven't
Okay.
really come across it. I mean, one comes to mind, and it wasn't, it was like a top person,
Hmm.
and it wasn't really. There was no sort of bad behavior thing or anything. It was just there was definitely a barrier, and we were shooting a film. We were reshooting a film, like
Hmm.
a lot of time
Oh,
reshooting this
that's not,
film.
nobody likes
So
that.
it's
Yeah.
not very good to start with. So
Yeah.
there was obviously some history there. So it made it a bit more awkward. We didn't even get in to see the blocking, and then we were going to
No, boy.
shoot it.
Oh,
So
jeez.
like the
Yeah.
stand-in was hiding in the shadows. So we'd come in, we were definitely not invited. No, none of the operators. The stand-in would hide in the shadows, and then we'd all go across.
Yeah.
What happens? Well,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
comes in
Oh,
through here, he
God.
goes over there, but nobody was yelling when you didn't nail it because you just didn't
They
know.
understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
we'll have a technocrane here, we'll run a rail down here, and we'll just, really, I mean, focus pullers have got it worse in that situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
In most
I've
situations.
had that kind of thing where you just, you have to do your best, whatever that is. And if you're not allowed to
Yeah.
do what you think is potentially even better because of those kind of restrictions, then you just have to
Hmm.
accept it and not get frustrated. And but in terms of bad behavior, I don't think I've ever had
Yeah.
anything that was,
You've been lucky then. That's
yeah,
great, because
bad communication. But
yeah, that's always the hardest, though, when you realize that you have a dance partner who doesn't really want to dance with you, and you still have to make it work.
Yeah.
But do you have any thought, advice for people on how to connect with actors that you're working with? I mean, when you go in, do you have sort of a way of trying to get to know them and figure out what they need and how they work?
Yeah. I think it's sort of, you have to read what they need, what they want. They're a lot more vulnerable than you are. You can kind of hide behind the camera, and you have a very specific role. They are working with a director who they have to trust, and it's a lot more kind of soft. We have the soft skills side of it on top of the hard skills, which is, the hard skills you still have to do, and then we layer all the soft skills on top. They have they're really out there in front of a lens. It's really tricky. So I always feel that you kind of try and assess as soon as you can what's required, and you just see the body language. If when they first make eye contact, is the body language saying, they kind of, oh, that's your chance to say, oh, hi, I'm Paul, I'm the B camera, steady cam op, and oh, you want it for the whole thing? Yeah. It's that first communication, and then you just have to feel it, really. I think you can easily go too far too quickly, so don't do that. It's better to just not quite go far enough, because you can always catch up to the thing, and then see what everybody else is doing. And if you want, you can ask advice from the first. What do they if you've worked with them before. I mean, IMDb now is a massive resource. It's great because you can just check and you think, oh, well, the AD team have worked with them before. So, if I need to know anything up front, just go, yeah, what are they like? Well, I wouldn't, not this week. Just leave it a week, or, that's absolutely fine. Try and get a bit of heads up, and then you'll know you're doing the right thing. But everybody's an individual, and, you're just there to help. They're very exposed. And usually when, if they're kind of a bit tricksy, it's normally because they're struggling with something and, they've just got to kind of take it out somehow. So, I mean, I never get upset with anything that happens because, I just don't take anything personally. It's just work, and, you're just there to help. And if somebody snaps at you, just, okay, yeah, no, fine.
They're having a tough day.
Yeah, they're having a tough day. It's not, it's not a problem. It's, it's somebody's really bad or something. It's different, but so just tread easy, I think, is the.
Since you do a lot of B camera, you have thoughts for, a lot of people, operators are going to start as well, D and C camera, and then maybe make it to B camera, but of working with an A camera operator and ways to do that and what not to do, maybe more so than what to do sometimes.
Yeah. I've been lucky to work with some terrific and still do terrific A camera operators. And so obviously you have a good relationship and you can joke around. And, but yeah, you a lot of the time their Technicrane is going to come and wipe you out. And so you have to appreciate, there's certain things that have to be shot, and then you are adding and supporting. And a lot of the time, sometimes you do, have sequences at the same time that's working really well for lighting and will be used. And, but I think you've got to appreciate there is the A and B dynamic, and you are adding, supporting, all that kind of thing. Communication's the biggest thing. And just ask, I'm always asking, so what are you going to do there? So do you think you're going to come as far as this? Because always they're sorting things out, they're laying track or getting the crane base in the right place. And you kind of want to give your guys enough time to get the track in and focus point, enough time to get marks. That's always the tricky bit. The big thing, right? Without trying to nag, you're trying to get things out of the A camera. So what do you reckon? Might not know, but at least he doesn't know. And, do you think it'd be safe if we did this? And so you can't really make a nuisance of yourself. You shouldn't ever, make something that contains what they're trying to do, which is a big no-no. If you think you're right on the edge of trouble, just make sure it's like a 2-foot or a 4-foot on the end, and you can whip it off straight away. We're talking about, track and
piece of track,
pushing it right to the edge of frame. Just make sure that little problem where it's too far in can just disappear straight away. Little
it's
things
so funny
like that.
You say that because that's like my litmus test when I meet a new B camera operator to see whether they know what they're doing or not. Is like if they put track down and there's a 2-foot or 4-foot at the front of it, I go, okay, I don't have to worry that this person totally understands what the game is. Yeah. But that's key. That's fantastic. Is there a type of movie that you haven't worked on genre wise that you is still out there for you?
Well, until the end of last year, I could have said a full-blown musical because there was a low-budget film. It was a musical. It's the first musical I've done, all the way through. And it had 13 songs. And it starred Jodie Comer and Harry Melling. And it's a very unusual story because Jodie Comer plays a taxidermist, and so there's her character. It's kind of a love story. She plays a taxidermist, and Harry plays a guy who works in a local factory. He's just very, very dissatisfied with his life, but he wants to be remembered for something in his life. We'll just say those two stories come together. Jodie Comer wants the ultimate taxidermist experience, the one thing she's never taxidermied. So these two stories kind of come together through 13 songs. And it was just such an amazing experience. The director was really nice, Theo. just such a lovely guy. I just
Oh,
hope,
that's fantastic.
we were very restricted time-wise and everything, and
Yeah.
I just hope it all comes together. But yeah, I think that was the only kind of film that I haven't,
Yeah.
and obviously Shaun of the Dead, we did a romantic comedy and a zombie movie
Yeah.
all at
You
once.
got two of them
So
out
you
of
get
there.
it all.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing I did was I did an episode of Band of Brothers, which was a huge thing for our industry, a big shoot. And I'd heard about it shooting for a long time before I actually got a phone call. But I did eventually get a phone call, which was great. And I went down to Hatfield aerodrome, where they were using as a runway and the exterior location. Turned up, and all the white tents with breakfast and everything was down one end of the runway, and then we got minibuses down to the set. Driving past at the end these big hangars with big flat cardboard transport planes, because we never saw them close. We only saw them in the distance, where there was no 3D information. So they've been beautifully painted, and from where we saw them, like 100 yards away maybe, you just couldn't tell they were real. But driving past them, you think, wait a minute, what's this? But yeah, I turned up on the first day, and David Nutter was the director. Kind of a big
I love
American.
David Nutter.
He's
amazing.
Too. Yeah,
Such a great director.
Yeah. And I'd got the call sheet, so I'd looked him at the day before, and I saw all the like big stuff he'd done in the States. So I was really looking forward to it. And he presumably loves Steadicam, because I just went straight into it. And I think our episode was called Replacements. And I think we were starting, and I think they'd had a battle and lost some guys, so they were introducing the replacements. So we need this was part of the Steadicam shot. So he'd in his head had this shot that went round everybody, and they were there on a side road away from the runway, and they were practicing their parachutes, getting them on, hitting the buckle, getting them off, all that kind of thing. And we were doing this little sort of Steadicam move around, wrapping around the faces, going down to the buckle, whip across to somebody shouts, that kind of sequence. At the end, backed up a ramp to do a wide shot, all in one shot, to see the aeroplanes over the top and the hangars over the top of their head. So first thing I thought was great showreel material. Great for the showreel.
That's always exciting. Yeah. If I can pull it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if it's worth putting on. And then I was there for quite a few days, and David Schwimmer was part of the episode, so and I thought, hey, wait a minute, I know him. He's quite famous.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dexter Fletcher was there, and Damian Lewis, who was British actor who I'd never worked with. I didn't really know. He never went out of American character, so I assumed he was American, because he just talked with an American accent all the time. And it was quite a shock afterwards when I saw him in something else with a British accent, and I thought, wow, he's got a great British accent. Whereas actually it was the other way around. But the weird thing was, I did that episode, got loads of Steadicam to do, which was great. And about 6 months later, I got a call to do a commercial here, a British gas commercial, like the national gas supplier at the time. And I got the call sheet through, and it was faxed through, which shows how long ago it was. So this fax came to my fax machine, and I saw one of the actors was one of the guys from Band of Brothers. I thought, oh, that's great. Saw the director, David Nutter. I thought, oh, wow. This was like 6-8 months afterwards. So I drive down, get onto it was on the street, so park up on the street, start to get my gear out. And then down the road, I can see this figure walking towards me with a kind of shopping bag and another guy alongside him. And I said, oh my God, it's David Nutter. And, that sort of imposter syndrome, I assumed probably he didn't remember me, because he's done a lot of stuff since then in the months in preceding. So, and he's getting closer and closer. And it gets to that point where I'm just about to kind of step forward and say, hey, David, it's Paul. I actually did some Steadicam for you.
Remind him.
And he cuts straight in and says, hey, Paul, how you doing? Great to see you. Good you could do this. Reaches into the bag and pulls out a VHS. And he said, Stephen couldn't use the beginning. I had it all cut in, but he said, I need to get straight into the episode. So he couldn't use it. And basically that shot was going to be the opening of the episode. He couldn't use it. Steven Spielberg had seen it, said it was great, but he can't use it. And I really wanted you to see it. So at lunchtime, and he gave it to his assistant. Can we get a player that plays NTSC, the American VHS standard? We can sit down and watch it. And at the end, he gave me the VHS. So
that's so cool. That's so David Nutter too. That's so great.
Tingle remembering it because it's
what
those kind of experiences that, this is what I mean, that, this industry is, it's populated by people like that. And
that's so great. What a wonderful. So the David Nutter story that I'll tell you, it's not stories per se, but he used to sort of drive me nuts because I would do a Steadicam shot and I'd hate 80% of it, for one reason or another, or like I'd actually kick the rig or, something would go wrong. I'd go, well, I need another. We go, no, we're good. And we're good. And I'd go, no, but I didn't. And he'd go, no, I'm only going to use this little piece of it. That's really all I wanted. And of course I was thinking, like, okay, he's placating me or he's going to use it anyway or whatever. But then I'd see the episode and I realized like, oh, he's editing as he goes in his head and he's actually seen something that he likes better. And, not that this would happen often, but he is so smart and he literally, I've never met anybody like him who is literally cutting in his head as he goes. Yeah. And I just need this one moment of this. That's all we need. Let's go, and he also, he has more enthusiasm for what he's doing than anybody. I mean, he's so excited to be making movies. It's just what a wonderful.
It's just great to be around him. Yeah, that enthusiasm.
And he's smart and he comes up with great ideas. And he also, like so many great directors that I've worked with, he doesn't care if you have a better idea. He wants the better way to tell the story. I mean, usually it's what he's come up with, but that's a wonderful story. I actually. I actually will probably reach out to him and mention that. That
it'd be nice. Well, it means so much to somebody. To me, it's just somebody does that. Absolutely. You think, wow, they really care that you care, and they know valued, that you would love to see that, and they bother to do it. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's wonderful. What a great story. So you mentioned earlier that you worked with Ridley Scott. I have not had the pleasure. I've heard all sorts of stories. What was that like?
It was terrific. Yeah. I got a call from John Matheson, or obviously I'd worked with on Phantom of the Opera and a couple of things after, I think. But this was, he was doing Robin Hood, and he said they were trying to work out how to shoot it, and Ridley liked shooting with multiple cameras. So he would spend a lot of time setting up, but then it would be bang, 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 3 takes, let's move on. And he's incredible. I mean, he's so visual. He loves the camera department. He loves what the cameras do. And so John rang me and said, well, we got this position. It's kind of C and D camera. So I had 2 cameras. It was great. So the D camera was rigged on the Steadicam and stayed on the Steadicam. And C camera was the camera I operate when it's not on the Steadicam. Mm-hmm. And we went around all these locations around the south of England, finding these ancient places that looked right. And a lot of the time we were in buggies, so each camera would have its own buggy, and the lenses and rig and everything were all strapped in, and off you go. The scale of it was incredible. But I can't remember how many operators we had all the time. I guess there was 3 full time, but it went out to like 10 cameras sometimes when we came to Wales and shot on the beach, and they built barges that sailed around the coast and landed, and the horses came out for the battle and all that. I mean, the scale was phenomenal. And we were going up the beach with the tide. So we would go up 100 yards, set up again, shoot another bit of the sequence, wrap everything up quickly, go up with the tide. And, so the scale was enormous. But I remember Ridley would kind of play off operators against each other just to keep things going. It was really, I'm sure it was intentional. He sort of had a horse box with all the monitors with all the cameras on, and he would poll the cameras. Okay, A camera, show me what you got. Okay, Chris, show me what you got. What you're going to do, basically. So again, there was an A camera, but you could be the A camera quite easily. And he would sort of go around, and you didn't want to be the one. And it would happen every once in a while where you would like D or E camera, and you just think, well, I can't do that because they're doing that. I'm being shot there.
Yep.
And then you try and get something, and he would just say, "Nah, that's no good. That's not a shot. Get something else."
Yeah.
And we would all kind of lean around and try and catch the eye line of the person who had done it. So there was this not one up.
Yeah.
Everybody was aware of it, but it was good fun. It was good fun, and it was trying to. You were trying to up your game all the time.
Sure.
And you would wear costume, and the one thing I learned early on from Ridley Scott was, if you wanted to make a shot better for him, if he wanted something that was better, you put the lens lower and you get more stuff in shot, more layers, and then he would start smiling. It was always the thing. If you got something, if you couldn't get to your little position on set early enough because of logistics or whatever, you're waiting for the horses to clear and you were kind of stuck on that position where you think, I'm going to get it this time, then that was the way to do it. You think, well, if I drop it really low, I'm just trying to get something crossing or some fire and smoke, that kind of stuff. He'll love it. And so it was quite a lesson. It was very much an operator's film. It was great that we were all kind of doing this all the time. It was.
Well, you said were you were in costume? So in case you were seen, you mean? Because you were in. Wow. Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because my understanding of Ridley Scott is that he's very controlling about the camera, but it sounds like maybe he wasn't on that you had more freedom.
We had freedom to offer stuff, and he will like it or not. I think he would trust you, and I think one of the first sets we went into was an exterior set, and again it's multi-camera, 3 or 4 cameras, and I think this little gang come and try and steal things from the barn at night. Kate Blanchett's character, her place, and they were trying to steal out of the barn. I think that was the sequence. And, we had 3 or 4 cameras, and we were, let's shoot. So we shot a heck of a lot of film. And then we kind of got told off the next day. Ridley told us off for shooting too much. And think, well, you've got 4 cameras. Somebody says turn over, you don't not turn over, and you don't quite know what's going to happen because it was a bit fluid. So you keep running, and it might just be wasted. But we would kind of get told off to shoot too. And he sort of said, I could have bought 2 Bentleys for what you guys shot yesterday. I thought, it was quite sweet that he kind of, quantifies things in the number of Bentley cars.
Yeah, exactly.
And after he'd got, obviously we don't, yes, boss, But obviously when he'd gone, we just go, well, somebody says turn over and somebody says cut. It's really difficult to kind of cut early.
Yeah.
What do you do?
He's yelling at the wrong people. But
But he was, absolute joy to work with. It was, and I managed to get a Ridley gram, which is he's graphically such a great artist. So he would write on the back of a call sheet or something. So he'd be standing around and he'd want a pen and paper to describe what he meant. And so everybody learnt this pretty quickly. You always had a pen on you, and you always had your call sheet in the back pocket, and so you could bring it out quickly
to draw a frame.
Yeah, and he'd say, "Okay, give me that." And this is the thing. Cool. This is the thing, and you just make sure afterwards you get it. Oh, that's my call sheet. Thank you.
Yeah. That's great.
I was sent off once on a boat. They built a boat at Virginia Water, which is like a lakeland area, and they built Robin Hood's. The character comes back with the king's crown because the king has fallen out in France. He comes back with it, and where he docks. But they actually built a boat to show him coming in, and I was sent out on the boat. So I was completely remote. They had a pontoon with a technocrane, and I was on the boat, and they had other cameras that filmed us as we came in, and we had to hide. So Ridley had to explain what he wanted, and that's when my call sheet came out with a pen. And he kind of said, cool. Get a shot of this. And but the guy's rowing, just get a kind of like this shot. And, so I've still got that, which is quite nice.
What a great, what a great ability to have. God, I wish I had the ability to draw a frame so I could explain it to people, because that thing could be better. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. What a great experience.
It was. Yeah. We all had, it was the first time I'd used cans, we were on what we called Radio Ridley. So he would talk to all the operators on Radio Ridley through their ears. Yeah. But he loves the camera department. I remember I was on a hillside with him we were waiting for all these horses to reset, and he just started talking. He said, he pointed at the camera and he said, operating, that's the best job. Because it's making pictures, framing. He said, operating, you've got the best job. It's true. I mean, it is true, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always hate to say it because it sounds sort of elitist, but it's just like, I just can't imagine doing anything else. And people have asked me, like, why don't you DP? And there are a number of reasons why I don't DP, but I couldn't think of not operating the camera. It's just so much fun. And it's just exactly what I want to be doing. Yeah,
me too. Yeah. Great fun.
Well, listen, Paul, you've had such an amazing career. There's so much good stuff here. I really appreciate it. And it's been wonderful talking to you. I want to leave you with the question that I leave everybody with, which is advice for someone getting into the business today on how to succeed, and or maybe something you have learned along the way that you wish you knew when you started out.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's anything that's specific that I can remember, put it that way. But I'd say, I think it's important, and this probably applies to any kind of workspace, but be yourself and, be nice to be around. That's a big part of this game. You will get to the stage where you can physically do the panning, tilting and everything else, but the soft skills of how to deal with people, come along as well. And that's very important. Be patient, don't get frustrated. So if your career is not moving along quite in the right direction as you see it, or it's not moving quite as quickly as you want, then, don't get frustrated. Just be patient and it'll happen. It will come. It just takes time, and you need to, learn skills, and as I say, soft skills as well as hard skills. And if it was, if it was quick and easy, it would probably mean that the skills you're learning are not quite as valuable. So, just appreciate that it will take time. Treat people with respect, whoever they are. Don't just, talk to the director and DP one way and then talk to other people another way. So it's more a message about how you behave on set, and that will help you. I always remember the quote from, I'm paraphrasing, but the quote from Robin Williams saying, just be kind, be nice, because everybody's got a story, and you don't know what that person that day or in their life in general, what they're going through. So they might seem a little bit natty and grouchy, but, just be kind. It doesn't cost anything, and it just kind of adds, it adds to the day, it adds to the environment, and it does make a difference. And I found in this industry that it's populated by people who are really worth knowing. Some of my best friends, I kind of only see at work sometimes, but they're really nice people and they're really worth knowing. And a lot of the people are here to make the planet a better place, and they do it so well. So, appreciate that, make the most of it, and enjoy.
I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. We'll be back soon with another great episode. Don't forget to check us out on theop.io for all sorts of information on operating and storytelling. So thanks for listening, and have a great day.